Good afternoon. How are you, Jim?
Absolutely fantastic.
Good. We have got a brilliant topic to cover today. This Monday's Wealth Creation Show, we're going to explore what you could learn from other people's success. And I think your recent interactions, Jim, and your adventures to Necker Island and things have made you all the more uh, aware of how much you could actually pick up for people that are successful and maybe further on in their journey or at different stages for their journey. I mean, you always refer back to learning from and standing on the shoulders of giants and things as well. And it's just become all more prominent to you, I think, after your visit to and mixing with people like Richard Branson and Jamie Siminoff and things as well, who are just are really, I mean, they're billionaires. They've got billionaire companies. They're billionaires in their own right. So I mean, yeah. What's your take on what you initially did? It change your perception and how you thought about that, or just reinforce it?
It was a combination of everything. It reinforced it, changed my perception. It did a huge amount of difference. I actually spoke to you just off camera there now, and I thought to myself, I was just thinking to myself that there's a whole lot of things I still, I was still learning right now out of that experience. I mean, you don't get much chance to actually spend a whole week with Richard Branson. But then the other thing was as well, later on I realised I was spending time with Jamie Siminoff of Ring.com. And the next minute, the night before when we arrived, it's like we were around Mohammed, and Mohammed's from Kool and the Gang. And it's like, what? And then Kevin Costner had just left. Michael Bolton had just left. The whole of Kool and the Gang had just left that night before because they had left, but Mohammed was left, and we had a wee chat with him as well. And then there was Raul from W Hotels. He's a hotel entrepreneur, kind of like Rocco Forte. And then there was Luigi, who is Virgin Galactics and all the rest of the Virgin Group and Richard Branson's investments. He runs his whole fund service. There was David. So there was David and Lee of Lombardi, which is Italian fashion brand. They're coming, and David actually does a lot of stuff for Macklemore. He does all the jackets, the crystals. Swarovski, crystals. He does all the jackets and stuff like that. He did some dreads for Wee John or whatever his name. I'm not really sure who all these people are, but I tell you what, it was pretty impressive. He was telling me the story about CeeLo Green. He says we actually had to. He says, look, we got CeeLo Green. Well, we're flying over to a private jet. We're flying over to another place. This was Lee was telling me the story, and CeeLo Green had said, look, I'm needing to go over to there as well, like something like Miami. And he says, well, why do you not just come on our jet? We've got space for you. So he just thought it was him and his partner and all the rest of it. And the next minute, they come up and once they've, okay, we've cancelled our jet and all the rest of it. And we'll just come with you. So the wee boy will be coming along and it's like, whoa, wait a minute. There's three of you. We've only got space for two. So they actually cancelled their jet and rebooked another one. It costed $20,000 just so they could take them.
Yeah,
it's like that's a whole different world.
I was just going to say that's a different league, and I think what I was going to say there is people. Obviously, when you talk about that circle of people and the people that you're interacting with in Necker and things, people watching might think that's a different league. I'm never going to be in a circle like that and mixing with people like that. But then, Jim, think back. Did you ever think you would be sitting in a circle of people like that? Or do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you need to be in and around people at that level straight away. Do you know? Look at where you are.
I honestly believe it. In my mind, completely, I honestly believe at some point in time I will meet anybody I want to meet.
But that's all about mindset, and obviously, if you've maintained that, then that's how you've got to where you are.
And I think that's always been from the very beginning, Richard. The very beginning, when I'm 35 years ago or something like that, I've always believed that one day I will meet these people. I believed one day I would meet Michael Jackson. And unfortunately, Michael Jackson's no longer here, but I met all his brothers.
Yeah,
so I met Tito and Marlon and Jermaine and Jackie and the rest of the crew. So if you can believe it, you can conceive it and you can achieve it. I genuinely believe that you could meet anybody you want to within you know, if they're honestly in this world at some point in time. So there'll be some point in time I don't know what it is, but it just happens. The sun and the moon and the stars all align at once, and it just happens for you. So I had every belief at some point in time. Well, we'd have been in the company of Richard Branson before, hadn't we? You know, when we'd been at some of the leadership summits and stuff like that. We got a separate room, and we had a group of people. But as well as the things that opened my eyes was, like, you know, Tony Robbins and people like that. You know, when I met Tony Robbins many years ago, I think it was probably 2009, 2000. No, actually, it was maybe 2006, 2007, because that time it was really, really busy. And I actually said, look, you know, Tony, I've got to go. I've got to go and catch my plane. I've got to go and catch my plane, Tony. It's like, and his manager was standing behind me, like a bit bemused when I looked at him, as if to say, hey, are you for real? It's like, Tony's actually coming out of the way to actually give you some of his time, and you're like, I've got to go and get my plane. And I did actually say, look, we'll catch up next year.
We did go back to Tony Robbins. I mean, I've not met him personally, but he was on stage when we went down.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's these early insights into meeting people far more successful than myself in the very, very beginning have led me to believe that, you know, at some point in time you will meet certain people in your life, and it's only a matter of time. But you kind of have to. I'm not exactly. I didn't work towards it or anything like that. I just became, you know, what people would term as a success in my own right, and that led me onto these other paths. I suppose some of the lessons I've learned over the years, especially from being in Necker Island, as you continue to evolve, as you continue to grow within yourself, this is by associating the right people and reading the right books and listening to the right podcasts and educating yourself all the time in terms of where you want to go in all different fields. You need to become a student of life, really, overall. As I've begun to do that, it's opened up other pathways in other areas. And it's led me down paths that I would never go down. Now, I interestingly enough, I did this morning on a wee live. I was running down and I thought, oh, I'm going to take a detour into the bushes, because I think there's a path round there somewhere. And it's like, there wasn't a path. It's like I'm covered in scrapes and scratches and everything like that. I went way over, and then I got to a wee hill, and I looked over and I went, oh God, this is all just bushland. It's like there's no path, and it's a bit like life. It's probably that's some of the things that have actually taught me as well. It's a bit like life. You know, you're going to get some failures at some point in time. But you know, the great thing I've learned from Necker Island, from the rest of them, you know, Richard Branson's a classic example of this. Look at the amount of failures he's had. Virgin Cola. Yeah. And other areas as well. Look at the lottery that he tried to do. Look at other things he's tried to do as well in the past. You know, a lot of things have actually failed for him, but I tell you what, it's never stopped him. And what the failures has actually taught him is actually probably taught him more in terms of getting the success later on, in terms of what he needs to do. The first interaction I had with Richard was when we got off the boat. He was standing at the Red Dot Quay. And actually, I was gobsmacked he was there, actually, because I didn't expect him to be there at all. I wasn't going for that reason. So when I appeared at the island and he was on the dock, I was like, wait a minute, is this real? It's like, is this real? Is he? It's like, oh my God. So when we got off, immediately he was welcome and he was warm and all the rest of it. And you think to yourself, wait a minute, this guy doesn't need to do this.
Because you wonder, that wasn't part of what you were expected. It wasn't part of what the experience was. It wasn't what you expected. It wasn't like that's what you paid for, or that's what he's been paid to do.
No, he does not need to do this, Richard. He could have sat in his house. He could have done something else. But he came down the dock and welcomed everybody off the boat. And there'll be more people during the day that will come down, and he'll probably still go over and welcome them off the boat. And he doesn't need to do that. Why would he? Why would he need to do that? But so it kind of shows you the type of person you've got to be. And even though you're at that sort of level, you know, and that's probably the type of person you've got to evolve into. The money shouldn't change you. You should be the same person. But the great thing I've always learned is when people become extremely successful, they begin to show their true self.
Yeah. They're no longer humble.
Yeah, they're no longer. Some of them are no longer humble, and they look down on other people, and they treat other people completely different to how they did when they were going up the way. And just always remember, as you're going up, at some point in time, you'll be coming down. And if you're coming down, you better make sure that you've looked after all the people on the way up.
I think it's important when you're building wealth and become wealthy and things. It's appreciating the real use of money and how to use it. Like, obviously we talk a lot about giving back, and obviously we talk about giving to the local community and things like you do a lot of that, Jim. And that's the thing that keeps you driven forward, because that's what you have always planned to do, is give back. And people might say, "Oh, you're wealthy," but that's obviously you've done all this.
I don't think I do it. Here's a lesson I've learned off the bike ride, and every time I think of the bike ride, the brutal bike ride,
the one that you come off,
Richard does every Sunday and Wednesday morning at 6:15 over on Virgin Gordo, and it goes up that sort of hill. It's literally just. I have videos and that of me just going, "Oh my God, I can't take this anymore." It's off pushing my bike, and then they're zooming on him, and he's still going. But do you know what? I don't think he really wants to do the bike ride, but he disciplines himself to do it because he knows the bike ride, and you could see it on him. I know that he knows that by doing that, it will prolong his life, and he'll be a lot healthier and more centered as a result of doing that. I think that's why he does it. He just disciplines himself, forces himself to do it. Because when you look at him, when he's going up there, it is a grind. You could see that in him. It's a grind, and he's just going and going. And I call it the driving Miss Daisy sort of thing, but literally, and tongue in cheek. But literally, that's what it is. It's just a complete grind at a slow pace, and just keeping going and keeping going and keeping going and keeping going. I have every belief he wants to live a hell of a lot longer than he is now. I mean, I think he's 77 just now, so he knows he needs to keep himself in shape to do that. So that's why he does the bike rides on a Sunday morning and a Wednesday morning, and anybody can join him. It's on the island, and some people do, but some people have learned their lesson and they don't. So it's that grind. It's that grind on that first day, or the next day after the Saturday we arrived. It's that grind in the morning and the determination. Again, he doesn't need to do it. Why would he? And then also things like, turning up for breakfast every morning. So, you'll be guaranteed he'll be turning up for breakfast every morning. He doesn't sit in his house. He's turning up for breakfast. He's turning up for lunch. He's turning up for dinner. And Joan turns up for dinner as well. So it's almost like, I may as well turn up and get my dinner there, or my lunch there, or my breakfast there. But the great thing is, he has a great way with people. I saw all the way through. I mean, literally, he'll just walk into a room and he'll go, "Right, okay, who's playing chess? You'll do." And he just gets them to sit down. And no matter who it is, "Right, come on, kids." Because some people had their children there. It's like, "Come on, kids, let's play some chess. Anybody know how to play?" And it's like, and like, "No, we're not really. Okay, let me show you how to play chess." Or, "Jim, go and you help the kids," or something like that. So does anybody else know how to play? Right, go and help the kids. So that's where he starts to have his conversations about who you are, where you're from, what your background is. Whereas I'm like trying to have a conversation about him. More than he's trying to be. He probably is extremely interested, actually, because we talked about life, and we talked about mortality. And I said to him, I want to be the oldest man to run 100 meters, and that means I've got to live till at least 110, maybe 120 by that time. But I tell you what, I've now kind of thought to myself, I wonder if I could live till 150. And he says, "Well, that's a tall goal." But he says, "I know what the type of things I do," and he told me personally what he's doing. I don't really want to discuss his personal on air and tell everybody what Richard Barnson does personally. Because it is a personal thing to him, and he's shared it with me, and I wouldn't want to share that because it's almost journalistic then in terms of doing that. But for somebody like that to do that is pretty good. what I noticed as well, he's very, 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 very protective of Joan. Joan is like, you know, no one gets to, we obviously, Joan comes to see us and all the rest of it, and she comes to talk. She's sitting talking, and she's a really down to earth person. But there's times, because she's had a hip operation, most people all know that in the media anyway. But there's times I actually have to just not sort of be out on the public, on the coast or the beach or anything like that, because you get paparazzi in the boats trying to take photographs of Joan wearing new hat just so they can talk about something. And the media, and she chooses not to be in the media. Joan's got Joan uses our original name, our maiden name she uses, rather than actually Joan Barnson. Yeah. Although when she's communicating with other people, she's okay with that, because she's one-to-one and personal. But very, very personal, very, very receptive. It is her home. You know, there's no doubt about that. You know, she quite clearly said that at the time. So that was Richard, what I learned on the first day. So the second day, Monday, you know, I'm talking to some of the other people that have actually arrived. Now, they know each other already, because most of these people arrive and they all come for the celebration week, which is Thanksgiving, which is the Thanksgiving in America. So it's a celebration week for Thanksgiving. So other people at the table, very, very interactive, but they were all a bit cliquey in the beginning, because they know each other, and it's normal to do that. What did that teach me? It teaches me, no matter who you are, where you're from, how much money you got, and how much success you've got, you still have the same human traits as everybody else.
Everybody else.
You're still very, very cliquey. You're very comfortable in your own skin and your own environment with the people you know already, and to venture out.
That goes right back to primary school. People do that.
To venture out to meet new people is often quite challenging for a lot of people, if not everybody, I would say. Some people find it easier than others, because they've naturally become accustomed to, that's just what I do. It's just like running. You don't know how to do running in the first place. It's very uncomfortable. Everything starts jiggling about when you try to run. And then over a period of time, then everything settles down and you build the muscle up where you are and stuff like that. And then it becomes second nature. So that's what I started to see in other people, and then we started to form into sort of wee mini groups with David and Lee and stuff. David and Lee we got on fantastic with from Lompardy, and they were, you know, I love to hear about their stories, and I love to hear about the things that they were involved in. And the CeeLo Green story was actually quite a funny story. But they actually got married in Miami in Versace's mansion when they got married, the two of them. And this was their honeymoon. It had actually been postponed because COVID arrived. So lucky us in the fact that, you know, every cloud, because it was fantastic with these two guys. They've adopted a couple of wee girls, showed us from babies and stuff like that. They love their daughters just like us. Just like us. I tell you what, there's the bickering battle for what you spend too much money. Just like it's for the kids. But the stories were really good, and just like everybody else, I suppose. But can you see how people have had huge success and huge wealth, are then a lot of people are they don't change. It's just they're just like you and I. They don't actually change at all, and it doesn't change for them in any way, in shape or form. For some people. They are just, I mean, you know, most people, God, you've been in Necker Island, you met Richard Branson and everything like that. I'm like, and it's like, I kind of just thought that's what everybody does. I suppose. I know it sounds a bit, but it's quite normal. I just feel it's normal to meet other people, and just to meet, you know, at some point in time in your life journey, you'll meet other people who are celebrities or stars or very successful or in the limelight or something like that. And everybody's had it, haven't they? You know, everybody's had it. Everybody's met somebody, maybe they call famous or a celebrity at some point in time in their life. It's kind of just the same thing, I suppose. I was just lucky enough to get the whole week with them. So we started to.
I suppose it's all about positioning yourself and your life and your journey and things as well. It's interesting what you say. Obviously, that is a really eclectic mix of people and interesting people and things as well. And like you say, they are just normal like everybody else. You know, they're not like completely different for any other human being. One thing
Tamala, but Tamala, not Pamela, because I was like, what, Tamala? Because I've never heard that as a name before. And she went, yeah. And I went, okay, so it's Pamela with a T. I never said that to her, but that's who I remember in my head. So Tamala and Daniel have a real estate business, and they do holiday lets in some obscure place in America. I have no idea where it is. Maybe round about Oklahoma, but it's a wee town. But for them, they said basically that the only reason that they are here is because of their business. If their business didn't generate that money, then they wouldn't be here. So clearly, they're obviously living from hand to mouth.
Yeah.
But some people live for today, and they don't really bother about tomorrow. And maybe they see that as the rewards that they get for working very, very hard during the year and throughout the year itself. So that was another one. Ricardo and Stephanie's wife, I mean, they're from Puerto Rico. Ricardo was, he's the sound technician, so he does all the sound and everything like that. He pitched Richard Branson at one point, and Richard went, well, why do you do all the sound systems for all our islands then? Okay. So that's why he was there. But Stephanie's actually a doctor, and she was talking about how, what it's like in Puerto Rico to be a doctor, because I'm fascinated and interested all the time about everybody else's journey and everybody else's life. So I was like, it's like, for me, it's like Piers Morgan interview. I just sit and quiz everybody and ask everybody all the unusual questions and all the questions that nobody else would want to ask. And it's like, no, I'm going to ask them because they're too afraid to ask. So I'll just ask them. So I think that's why I've become very comfortable with that. I even thought about when I go back next year, I'll be going like, Richard, maybe we should have a podcast called Tales from Necker Island. and I know the host that could do it for you.
That would be interesting.
So that was it. And then the other one was quite interestingly enough, I never got a chance to touch base with Raoul from W Hotels because if you ended up speaking to everybody, you never get in. You never get in the boats because when it was like, let's go for a race round the island, Richard says, and it's like, okay, let's do it. So we're racing round the island and stuff like that. But that's what keeps him young, I suppose. That's one of the things he does to keep himself young. He actually can keep himself engaged and obviously to keep himself occupied. And I think Richard's got to a point where, for God's sake, Richard, don't touch.
Yeah.
And he now realizes in his own mind, it's like, do not touch, do not fidget with it, just leave it and let it run. So I think because he probably does have ADHD or some form, shape or form of that, but he has, admittedly, everybody knows he has dyslexia. And as a result of that, and always being interested and always wanting to do something, I think he does this to keep himself occupied. Yeah. I think that's a definite yes, because I'm kind of the same mindset. I have to go out and run. I have to go out and cycle. I have to go out and do things. I have to just investigate. I have to learn. I have to read. I have to listen to podcasts. Because if I didn't do anything like that, I would start self-sabotaging.
Yeah, well, one thing I picked up on when you were talking about Richard there, and I think this is what sets him and probably the other people on the island and yourself, Jim, and things, and any other successful person probably, is that when you spoke about Richard putting himself through the cycling and up the uphill, and he probably doesn't want to do it, but he does it, and he's disciplined himself to do it because in order for him to obtain his goal, which is obviously the longevity of his life, that is something he needs to do. So he's disciplined himself to do it. And we were just talking about this off camera as well, talking about discipline. And myself, it's reading so that, and obviously building knowledge and disciplining yourself to do that. And unless you can get yourself into those kind of habits and start those habits and continue to do them, then it's all part of your journey. And every successful person has that. And I know you've obviously practiced that, Jim, and clearly Richard does as well.
You have to start somewhere. I know it's the obvious, and you kind of think it's common sense, but common sense isn't that common, remember.
Yeah, I know.
But you have to discipline yourself to do it in the beginning, and then after a period of time, it becomes a habit because you've done it all the time. This is why, some people out there might be watching my Facebook page in the morning on a Monday and a Friday and thinking, why is he hashtag accountability, and why does he talk about when he's been out running? And it's like, if I don't do that, then I'm not accountable to anyone except myself.
Yeah.
So therefore, I put it online that this is what I'm doing, and it doesn't bother me if nobody watches it. It's the very fact that I've done
put
it,
it out there.
and I've said I've done it to myself. That's why I'm doing it. I could just do a video and keep it to myself, but there's a lot of, I find when I go out to run, and some people actually say that because they message me and say thanks very much. That was a really inspiring video you did. So some people do mention. So I know some people find what I say quite inspiring for them personally. So that's why I decided to actually do something like that as well at the same time. Because when I'm running, I start to think about the things that I should be doing, and it makes me quite centered and focused on because you've only got your thoughts and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't do any music. For God's sake, if you're running or you're working out, do not do any music. Do not put earphones in. Do not put earphones on, anything like that, because it distracts you from what you should be thinking about, which is your inner self.
Yeah.
When you go out to run, and this is, a lot of people don't realize that when you go out to run, when you go out to cycle, you're working on yourself at that point in time. And what music gives you is a false high.
Yeah.
It creates this false atmosphere that you're in, and it creates these endorphins that you really shouldn't be using at that point in time, because then you're having to get something from outside to stimulate you to do it. But could you imagine if you go out running and you don't listen to music and you don't listen to podcasts and you just listen to what's around about you, you hear the sea,
your surroundings. Yeah.
then what happens is your mind starts to then work on generating thoughts. It will actually create these endorphins without you having to get something else to do it for you. And this is how people, when they say, most people keep turning around to me and say, how the hell do you keep going? How do you keep going? How do you still have so much energy? It's like, holy shit, most people at 55 to 60 are burnt out. They're on the heap. They're ready to choke
wind down. Yeah.
Whereas, God, 55, 57, I'm not 57. It's like, I'm still ready to go. I'm still wired and fired. And I'm thinking, this is the beginning. I'm still thinking this is the beginning. This isn't the end. This is the beginning. It's like, I've got another 50 years to go. We talked about pensions, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're going to live till another 40 years if you're 57 at least. 30 or 40 years. It's like, oh my God, don't write yourself off now.
And a lot of people do, yeah.
They do. Yeah, they do. They're I'm settled. I'm in a routine. And for the next 30 years, I'm just going to go. I'm going to do this, that, and that every single day. It's like, oh my God. Just like a lot of people are in the grave before they even die.
Yeah.
Mentally. They need a checkup from the neck up.
And that's a society thing that's kind of made people like, that's the expectation, and that's the retirement age and things. There's a lot of factors that make people think like that.
Okay, so this is what's happened. The paradigm was always for the older generation, my mum and dad and stuff like that, was work hard, stick in at school, get an education, get a normal job, okay, 9 to 5, work hard, do everything you can, save money, from 16-year-old and retire at 65. And then you'll maybe have paid off your mortgage. You'll maybe have a decent lifestyle. You maybe have a decent income. And then you can enjoy the twilight years as you pop your clogs at 70 or 80. That's not a great thought, is it?
A lot of people still.
That is the paradigm we're getting taught by the older generation. There's no fault to them, because that is their paradigm. That's the world they lived in. The world we are in today is completely different, as medicine is vastly improved, and now we know how to look after our bodies. We now know how to look after our minds. We now know how to look after our mental health. We now know how to look after other things. And medicine's gone from, basically to create longevity in life, to now jumping into a different type of medicine, which is what we call medicine 3.0, which is now, it's no longer the drugs that will help you. It's the way you live your life will help you. The things you eat, what you put in your mind in terms of the thoughts and everything, what you consume. You know, if you're consuming alcohol, if you're consuming all these, these basically toxic poisons.
Yeah.
If you're consuming all these, every single part of your body is wearing away as a result of it. It's like putting diesel into a petrol engine. That's effectively what you're doing when you're consuming all these toxins. And it's even in your food. So you can't get away from it. It's even in the atmosphere because your skin absorbs it, fumes, particulates, all the rest of it, smog and everything. All these stuff gets absorbed into your skin, goes into your bloodstream and runs right around your whole system, right into your brain as well. And it's the lifestyle that you lead to avoid all these things. It will help. And it doesn't need to be, this is not about denial. This is the one thing I've learned as well when I was out there, and I've begun to build on top of it. Because remember, this is a point of readiness. I've learned about all these things over all these years up to this point in time. And the catalyst is Necker Island. So it's like you get to Necker Island and it's like, okay. And then people from other, far more successful, far more knowledgeable than me start to bring you up and lift you and lift your game as a result of that. Therefore, you start to learn and you start to be more open to more ideas and more lateral thinking, if that makes sense. And then if you've accumulated all that knowledge, the point of readiness comes along, and it's like that's when the opportunity appears, and that's when you become more clear, or you have clarity in your thoughts about, yes, you are doing the right thing. So this is not about denial. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. I exercise, and I also am plant-based vegan as well. And that is not a denial for me. That's just been a small change over time.
I was just going to say that's something that you implemented over time, and it was habit stacking and disciplining yourself, just like we spoke about.
Yeah, I've never denied anything, and I've never expected anybody else to change round about me.
No.
I've never walked into a restaurant. Sometimes I don't go to restaurants because they don't accommodate for vegans. It's on there. I'm not going to go in, create a song and dance. So I just don't go to the restaurant. Sometimes I go to a restaurant and if they've not got any vegan on the menu, I don't go, that's ridiculous. I just go, that's no bother. You got a plate of chips? Are they done in? And you got beans? Yeah, give me that. Chips and beans. I'll do. I'll find it. I'm happy with that. Chips and beans are fine for me. And most people go, what? You can't have that. They get more annoyed at the fact that I'm eating chips and beans.
I've seen it, yeah.
But I stay totally silent and I don't make a song and dance about it because I'm not there to change anybody else. I'm only there to improve myself.
Yeah.
And these are all the lessons that you learn from other people. Look at Jamie Siminoff. Now, Jamie
Siminoff.
Yeah, let's talk about Jamie.
Yeah.
Now, for most people that don't know Jamie Siminoff, some people do. If you've got a doorbell called Ring, your Ring doorbell, Jamie Siminoff is Ring.com.
Yeah.
He actually founded Ring.com. Now, if you look up Jamie Siminoff, Ring.com, Shark Tank, you'll see his pitch, where he pitched to all the sharks in America, and they basically turned him down, and he thought, that's the end of the road, I'm going to be bust. I've had it. This doorbot is what was called at the time. He was pitching $700,000 for 10%. They didn't invest. But lo and behold, what happened was, by the way, your 700,000 with 10% would be worth over 100 million today, after about 6 or 7 years. But these people missed the trick.
Yeah.
But the great thing is, I then realised it's like, that was a golden opportunity in itself, just learning that story. And just hearing from him. Now, Jamie is extremely reserved. He doesn't like to talk about himself. He's not big-headed, anything like that. He's just a normal guy. I mean, we were playing, happy sack or whatever it is. You chuck them into the hole and stuff like that, back and forward at the beach. Richard actually says, go and you two play. And we're having a great time with that. And then later on at night, I started to ask him, this was halfway during the week, so what is it you do, Jamie? What were you involved in? And he went, Ring.com. Well, that's me. I founded that. I'm like, Oh, that wee doorbell thing. That's
I've
I
got,
tell
I've
you
got
what,
one. I mean, most
that is a
people don't.
fantastic invention. I tell you what, it's brilliant. It's a great invention. And he went, yeah, I know. And I said, so what what are your plans for it? And he was, well, I've just sold it to Amazon. And he never said I've just sold it for over $1 billion to Amazon. He just said I've just sold it to Amazon. I sold it to Amazon, and I was with him for 5 years, and enjoyed doing it. But he says now I've left. I just left this year. I've left Ring.com now. It's in good hands. It'll grow and all the rest. Amazon have got great plans for it. I says, why did you not do an IPO? Why did you not float it on the stocks? See, here's my inquisitive mind jumped in now.
Yeah.
Why did you not do an IPO and float on the stock exchange? You could have got a lot more. And he went, it's an easy exit. It's no difficult to do that. It's Amazon thought it was a great product. They wanted to buy it. They made me an offer. Basically it made sense for me and investors. And so therefore it was an easy route to exit. I said, so what are your? So I said, so what are you going to do now? And he says, well, I've got latch.com, which will be door.com soon. So this is a home security. I went, so what's your overall? What do you want to be? He says, I want to be the Dyson of home security.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a big thing. By the way, I was like, this is brilliant. I high-fived him. I says, I've got to really take my hat off to you, Jamie. Excellent result. You just knocked it out of the park. And we had that wee moment.
Yeah.
It was like, yay. But he was still quite humble. So I then went on and read up about him. And I says, look, you should be doing a podcast about this. You should be inspiring the next generation about your journey, especially with the fact that you went from more or less going out of business and nearly broke to major success and exiting.
Down with the sharks, yeah.
Exiting and that sort of at that sort of level within a short period of time. I actually said to him later on when we were leaving at the airport. So we're both at Beef Island Airport, and we were getting on the plane, and we're walking down the gangway, and I said to him, now you've sold, Ring.com, so what are you going to do next? And then that's when we talked about that. I says, I tell you what, I know the price that I paid to get where I am now, and what it cost me psychologically in that.
I was going to say, yeah, personally.
So I says to him, and what the toll it took on relationships and stuff. I said, so I says, you really want to climb that mountain again? Because I know yours must have been way more than what I've done. The sacrifice that you've had to make. Do you really want to climb that mountain again? You went, fuck aye.
So it's not deterred then.
He's like, but then I looked up and he's 44, and he's like, and he's still wired and fired and ready to go. And I could understand that, because I was like that at 44 as well.
Yeah, and preparation.
And I'm kind of like that now because of that.
Well.
I'm kind of like that now because of that. So because that's the lesson that taught me when I walked away from Jamie, and I look back on that and I reflect back on it, and I think to myself, that was me at 44. How the hell am I not like that now? That's what honestly, that's what I thought to myself. How the hell am I not like what he is right now at 44? Because that was me at 44. Why am I not like that? So I do a lot of soul searching.
I was just going to say, so you asked yourself that question. Do you have the answer yet? Do you know? What do you think held you back for having more success than what you've had already?
I think settled. Settled. Comfort zone.
Yeah.
Comfort zone. That's what that is. Comfort zone. I've got there's no surprise. Most people know where I am right now in terms of monetary terms, in terms of wealth. I could literally stop and never do anything for the rest of my life and still make money. In fact, I've been away and I'm still here in Spain. And if I kind of go back to the UK, I'll probably be better off actually being away. You could go away and your business has grown, and your businesses have grown as a result of it.
Do you think it's fair to maybe say, obviously your mind's changed now because you've been looking back and questioning things, but maybe for a while you've been comfortably successful, just saying, oh well, things are fine, and just
right, okay. There's a period of lost in translation here. Right. So when we got to 2010, I had bought another 6 or 7 properties. And it was, you know, back to back, no money down, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And we'd done that. I actually shared it this morning because a post came up and went, I can't believe I bought a property for 500 quid and it cash flows 250 quid every month. But effectively, that's what it was. I bought a property for 500 quid. That's all I'd used of my own money. And then I shared it this morning and I actually said, I bought 6 properties and it was about $500,000 the portfolio. Over the time I bought them all back to back, different times of the year. But I bought 6 properties, only outlaid 40 grand at the end of it to get 6 properties. And I've still got these 6 properties today. And they still make me money, and that's 10 years on. But at that time, I don't know. I think I just lost my way after that. I think the two of us, I mean, we ended up, well, look what happened with a business partner. You know, he left and basically left me baby in the credit crunch.
Yeah.
I racked up a huge amount of debt in terms of just keeping things going. A lot of people don't know that, you see. You know, a huge amount of debt keeping things going. And I just kept
trying to keep the wheels turning for a long time.
Going. It was all about spinning plates every single time, trying to find my way. But I did have faith at some point in time I'd find my way. I never knew what that would be or how it would be. I just knew I'd find my way. So I think there's lessons in that, absolutely. I mean, for the next 10 years, we've just basically stagnated.
I was just going to say, and then, so when do you think, in terms on the timeline, do things started picking up momentum again? Because obviously, I mean, lockdown and the other side of that, you started picking up more property and building your portfolio exponentially compared to what you had in nearly 10 years.
Yeah, so here's lessons again I've learned from people far more successful, and you know, it comes from people that have probably visited Necker Island and stuff like that. People that are far more successful, they go away for a period of time, but because they're still in that area of expertise, they come back again. I always say to everybody, just hang around long enough, because every dog has their day.
Yeah,
I always remember that phrase, every dog has their day. You could be right down in the doldrums right now, and you could have been there for years and years and years, but at some point in time, you'll go meteoric again. But you have to hang around long enough. You have to keep going long enough. You just have to have faith in yourself every single time that it's going to happen for you. But you have to have faith it's going to happen regardless, even if because you get all these gurus out there going, you've got to have a vision, you've got to have a goal. Fuck that. It's like I don't know, I don't have a vision, I don't have an exact goal, I don't have exact clarity about where things are going, where things I want to be, but I do have faith in the very fact that if I keep doing what I'm doing, it will lead to something far more exciting and far better. And that's the faith I hold within myself. The energy and the excitement only comes from yourself, and that's what keeps you going, and that's what keeps you energized every single time. But if you're not, when you become like that, because a lot of people go, God, you're too wired and fired and all this. I used to get told by interviewers that, you know, maybe you should calm down a bit.
Maybe you should tone it down just a wee bit.
Yeah, these people are, by the way, these people are probably still working, and they're probably still broke as a result of that, because they didn't get it. They didn't get the whole picture. You often feel like taking an edge. My mentors used to say to me, look, take a wee edge off a postcard and just write their address on it, and just write, obviously you didn't get the full picture, and send them that.
It's true what you say, though, and obviously you've taught me this over the years, as to just keep going with what you're doing if you're good at it and you like doing it, and obviously keep learning, have faith, and I think it's important, and keep the right people around you.
There's some days I hate doing what I have to do, honestly. And for some people out there, it's like, oh my God, really? It's like, do you think Richard Branson enjoys every single time he goes out? Do you honestly think I mean, he's away in Australian Virgin Voyages. Do you actually think he loves actually blooming sleeping at night and all the travel and jet lag and all the rest of it? The guy's 77-year-old. He's better be cream crackered. And it's like, and having all that jet lag, and then he has to turn up and he has to be the entertainment, effectively. You know, he has to be that. And that's what I see in him. I'm thinking, God Almighty, that's the lessons it teaches you.
Yeah.
Regardless if you hate it for that day, you'll probably love it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people don't realize. It's like,
Yeah.
I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job. And it's like, that's what they say to themselves, thinking, oh, I can't stand coming in here. Oh, I'm having to do this. Oh, it's a Sunday night and I've got Monday morning. I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job. And it's like, they live lives of misery.
Yeah.
Oh my God. For God's sake, shut up and change your job then.
I think it's important to remember as well, no matter what anybody does, you're always going to have a shit day. Do you know, everybody's got, but they come and go. Do you know? And it's like that's the end of it. And don't fixate on it too much.
And brighter days are always coming.
Yeah.
And with experience over time, this is where everybody realizes, all the entrepreneurs, all the billionaires, and all the rest of it. They've gone through all the crap in the beginning, but they realize you've got to go through the crap to get to the cream. Yeah, that's the reality. You've got to go through all that to get to the end result, to get to where you want. There can be no victory without a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
You must struggle first. You must persevere in order to be victorious. You have to. That's the only way it'll ever happen. Oh, I'll give up. Well, I'll guarantee you'll fail then. If you give up, you'll fail. It's the palm trees out the front of my house just now, okay? Mm-hmm. I pointed them the other day and I did a wee blog about it, right? They were all planted at the same time. And I, this is a great analogy of life. They were all planted at the same time. They all started at the same time. This is like everybody being born at the same time. But you look out there, and some of them are only about 4 foot high, and some of them are about 6, some are about 10, some of them are about blooming 20 meters high. And yet they're the ones that started at the same time. They were all planted at the same time. They were all the same size.
Yeah.
So how on earth did that happen? And it's a bit like life. Some have had more water and more nourishment and more nurturing than others. Therefore, they've grown as a result. What you need to do, if you're the smaller one, is you need to give yourself some nurturing, some nourishment, and begin to grow as a result. And you're only going to get that through books. You read, podcasts you listen to, the people you associate with, or it's never going to change for you.
It's all about the more you put in. And the more you put in, obviously, the more you're going to get back from yourself.
It's your investment in yourself. That's the key here. When I left school, I vowed never to read another book again. And Jerry Scriven said to me one day, one of my mentors, Jerry Scriven, said, "Would you read every day for £1 million?" And I went, "Sure, damn right." He went, "Start reading then."
Yeah.
Start reading. I went, "But I've not got it. How am I going to get it?" And he went, "I tell you what, I'll guarantee you, if you read the right books every single day and associate with the right people every single day, at some point in the future, you will have £1 million, regardless of where you've come from." This is why you could drop everybody on a desert island with £1 million in their hands. You could drop 20 people on an island with £1 million in their hands. And I'll guarantee you in the next 20 years, you'll be about 5% of these people, 4 of them, which will have all the money. And the unique thing about these 5% of these people is they worked on a plan to self-improve themselves, to learn and educate themselves in order to maximize their opportunities. The others just threw caution to the wind and never bothered. And they expected to lose that money. There's a real thing.
That's like a snapshot of society, just on a smaller scale. Because then you've got that, so you always have that small percentage of people that will approach things differently.
I've got a couple of questions on TikTok and that, and I will come back to it, Amy. Well, no, let's talk about which book do we recommend starting with. The book I started with 35 years ago was The Magic of Thinking Big by, I think it was David Schwartz. Magic of Thinking Big. I looked at it when my mentors gave me it, and they said, and I went, "You're having a laugh. This is a joke, isn't it? Magic of Thinking Big." It's like, get real. Honestly, Magic of Thinking Big. I've still got the book. I still read it. It's all the pages are tinted and turned a different colour. And that's how old it is. But The Magic of Thinking Big is a fantastic book. That's what started me off reading in the beginning. Another one for people that are a bit unsure is Rhinoceros Success. If you're a bit like, oh, I'm always offended, that sort of way they now, oh, that hurt. And it's like, oh, your words are, it's like, oh, if you're a bit like that, you need to start reading Rhinoceros Success.
I think a lot of people need to read that book.
You need to become a rhino. You need to get up in the morning and just shout your chant and you just go charge.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you need to become. You need to become a rhinoceros and charge every single day into the abyss and just get on with it and have faith that it'll work out for you. That's what you need to do. Rhinoceros Success, brilliant book. Another one, if you're struggling and you're stuck where you are right now, is Who Moved My Cheese? Kenneth Blanchard, I think it is. Who Moved My Cheese is absolutely, it is a masterclass in understanding yourself and realizing that you could be the one actually holding yourself back. Most people that read that book actually realize it is themselves holding themselves back. But it's an easy book to read. Same with Rhinoceros Success, big pictures, big writing. So you get through it quite quick. It's great for children as well. Who Moved My Cheese and Rhinoceros Success are great children's books. You could give them to children and they'll learn a huge amount. They should be on the national curriculum, actually. They should actually be on the national curriculum for schools because they're fantastic books and they're written in such a way and they're easy to digest, and even the kids and the younger people will love them. Because it gives them inspiration. It plants knowledge at the same time. It's funny, and when you laugh and you cry and you joke and emotions involved, you absorb information a lot better. This is why look what we're talking about now. Look at how hyper this is.
Yeah, do you know? And it's funny how we've come to this at the end of the show, because that's what we were actually speaking about this off camera, not knowing that this is where the story would take us today, is reading and how important it is and how to discipline yourself to do it. And do you know, reading an actual hard copy book, Jim, or paperback, whatever, do you prefer to do that, or do you? I mean, people might prefer a Kindle or audio.
For me, right? Okay, how you retain information.
Yeah,
this is how you read. There's another one. How is it? Oh, who is it? Skills with People. It is a wee, tiny, thin book. Skills with People, Les Gibbon.
Okay.
And Skills with People from Les Gibbon is a masterclass. It is the Bible, literally it's only about 30 pages. You'd be lucky if it's anything more than that. It's literally the Bible of how to interact with other people and how to understand people in interaction situations. And it's called Skills with People by Les Gibbon. It was one of the first books we got given when we were involved in our businesses when we first started. This was what our mentors were involving us for. They were teaching us and developing us as business people to run our own self-employed business. And we, it was only a wee small business, but it could grow to a big business for some people as a result of that. So that's why. So Les Gibbon, Skills with People. But what Les Gibbon talks about, he talks about there's ways that you retain information. If you read it, you'll retain a certain percentage. If you write it, you'll retain a certain percentage. If you hear it, you'll retain a certain percentage. Okay?
Yep.
And if you see it, you'll retain a certain percentage. So the ideal situation is you really want to try and incorporate every single one of these senses at the same time. So you retain the highest amount of retention of information. So see it, read it, see it and smell it and touch it and all the rest of it. And he goes into all these details. So if you can and write it. So this is why I go to functions and people go, what the hell's he doing writing all these notes? The boy on the stage is saying he'll hand them out later. Why is that? Why am I writing all these notes? Because the handout's not what I'm after. I'm after to retain that information. So I'm writing loads and loads and loads of notes from the speaker. As he's speaking, I'm retaining it. As I'm writing, I'm reinforcing it. And as I'm reading it after that, with my eyesight at the same time, I'm reading it over again, I've reinforced it again. So my retention is a lot higher of the knowledge and information that I've taken in. Whereas just listening to podcasts now and again, yeah, okay, it's fine. So that's why I read the book. I love books. I just love books. You can take them with you.
Do you find yourself, and I know you do, because sometimes when we do our one-to-ones and things, you'll read sections of books and that to me, and things that you think's useful. Do you find you read things out aloud to yourself as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the best way to become a master at what you do is teach others.
Yeah.
And I don't mean teach others as in, no, you should listen to what I'm saying.
No.
Teach others as in, when you're trying to teach other people, you're reinforcing it with yourself and actually learning it and better. You begin to understand it through your mind. So I often sit down as well and just go through things. Last night, there's, you've probably seen my diary. Last night I woke up and I thought, I can't sleep. So I went to work on accounts for the next 2 hours. So I sat at my laptop last night from 11:30 till about 1:30 in the morning, and I sat and worked on accounts. But I tell you what, it was multiple companies and there was multiple interactions with transactions. And I was thinking, how the hell did that work from there? Now, I'm an accountant by trade. And I was thinking, I can't understand that. So I had to print off each nominal ledger and actually say, right, okay, that's that. And these are all the transactions there. Let's look at the bank statement. It's like, okay, that's coming from there. Oh, right, that's what it is. Okay, I can offset that against that now and clear that out so that doesn't exist anymore, that loan. It's like that's the right thing to do. So these are the things. Now, the first thing I was told when I was an accountant was read a newspaper. First thing I was told, but read a quality newspaper. Read a quality newspaper. And do you know why as well? Because reading a newspaper especially, and you begin to say it to yourself as you're doing it, actually teaches you how to read very, very well when it comes to things like this.
Yeah.
How to read auto cues, how to be a newscaster, how to be a broadcaster. So you therefore never get into the stage of going, but all the rest of it, because you've read so many times, you've talked so many times, you've delivered it so many times, it becomes so straightforward after that. And that's what I think is the lessons I've learned. People far more successful. So Simon Zushi, classic example, Simon Zushi, I never got a chance to meet Simon. When I'd gone to the Excel show, Simon had to go on something else, to do something else. Most people know Simon Zushi because of the PIN network. But Simon Zushi's sidekick was there. I spoke to him. He was a radio presenter previously, but I tell you what, see, his presentation was like, wow. I was just completely engaged. He knew exactly how to say things.
And to keep you engaging with them. Yeah.
Tonality.
Some people could stand up and do things, and they just talk. That's one tone all the way through.
One monotone. How to go up and how to come down in a conversation, and how to reinforce a point. Just as I've done right now.
Yeah, you definitely.
Everybody sat and listened.
Yeah.
See how to do that.
That's really good.
This is what I love about being a student. This is what I love about learning from other people. This is what I love about listening to podcasts, about reading books, about just listening to other people's stories. Dynamo is the one I'm listening to now on Diary of a CEO, and it's like, oh my God, it's like I never knew that. It's like Crohn's disease, and he wanted to kill himself and stuff like that, and he disappeared from the. It's like I never even knew it. That was Dynamo's journey. But it's like now you've got me. Now I'm listening. It's like, what can I learn from that journey? Now, most people at my age would go, young whippersnapper, what does he know? What life experience does he have? Well, most of these people that say that are probably broke. Because they refuse to listen to somebody that's younger than them, just purely because of their age, even though they've got more knowledge and more expertise in a field. I'll listen to anybody and everybody that's going to be able to teach me something, and I'm going to learn from, which will help me in my journey and maybe help other people in their journey as well. Because as I say something, maybe it helps it does help other people because people message me as a result of that. I talk about it all the time. The only way you can ever fail in anything is if you don't hang around long enough. And you don't keep going. That's it in a nutshell. That's probably my whole learning out of all that experience so far about meeting Jamie, meeting Richard, meeting Raoul, meeting Ricardo, meeting Luigi, David and Lee, and all the rest of the team.
That's a really important point, I think. And it's like, I think a lot of people are just so quick to give up or to walk away or just think, oh, I failed and that's it. Whereas if you keep pressing on, kind of like you say, be a student of life, learn from everyone around you and surround yourself with people that are worth learning from. And create your own habits. And reading and things is really important, like we've just covered there. Got a couple of comments. Gary said about reading. I always read proper books the first time round, and then he reinforces it by listening to the Audible just to kind of refresh, which is good. And Roger said there as well, Rich Dad, Poor Dad blew his mind last year, inspired him to set up a business. Brilliant, Roger.
Absolutely. Okay, that's me. I think that's the best thing we could learn so far. I'm going to deal with the TikTok after this. I know there was a couple of questions came through. I'm just going to scroll through them and I'll go with the people with TikTok. But thanks very much for people joining in. If you're wanting more information, please feel free to message us direct. Share this show with other people. At the end of the day, this is knowledge and information, not necessarily from me. This is from other people that we've actually learned from. That's really what it comes down to.
Brilliant. Okay. Right, Jim, that's great. Thanks for all those insights and thanks for everyone interacting with us. I'll let you get on to TikTok and we'll leave it there for today. Thanks, everyone.